What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, I'm going to be going over the Nidhoggr floor 1 to floor 3 using Mael. So this is also part of the world tour for Mael, but I wanted to show you guys the floor 1 to floor 3 with the Freyja Relic as well, and kind of showcase you guys how difficult the actual fight is, and you know, pretty much just showcasing the relics. So I have compiled the whole run. 40 minutes total, but the thing is, the run is actually sped up at some parts, so some of the parts are actually longer than, like, in total this is probably over an hour. Honestly, this whole clip is probably over an hour, so we're gonna be here for a while. But if you guys want to clear floor 1 to at least floor 2, watch this like first bit of the video, and then you guys can see the floor 3 and kind of learn the gimmicks. I'm pretty much gonna explain all the gimmicks in this video, guys. This is not like a full Nidhoggr guide in terms of, like, I'm gonna be explaining like the passives and all of that, because it's not really like too important. But I'm pretty much going to be running you guys through my run that I did with Mael, Freyja, Green Elizabeth, and Elat. So let's hop in, man. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You guys know the drill, all that good stuff. And with out of the way, let's hop in. Okay. So pretty much, one thing I want to preface as well, I'll let the video play because it's going to be a while. Oh, wait. We got to talk about gear. So gear, triple defense Elat. The only pieces that need to be are the middle pieces. So there you go. Red Tarmiel Link with or triple defense, actually. And then, what's it called? Attack defense Freyja. With attack defense Sariel Link as well, so you know, you get that. Attack crit damage Mael with the attack defense Escanor Link, and then HP defense Elizabeth with the HP defense King Link, and then I'm also running the basic stack card set. So yeah, and the thing I wanted to preface though is that floor 3 of this fight was a different run. So I initially had my floor 3 run that I did as part of like this actual clear for the floor 1, floor 2. I did the floor 3 clear on stream. So I had to I pretty much had to get all the way back up to floor 3 for the floor 3 part of this video, but it's okay, and it did work out. But yeah, so let's hop in, guys, and let's kind of discuss what you really need to be doing on the Nidhoggr Demonic Beast battle. So off the rip, this phase right here doesn't do anything really special. He does have weak point single target, so that is one thing. He does apply a debuff, and he does have stance removal, buff removal. So, you know, bringing a stance character like Queen Diane, or bringing a buff character like Margaret, when you do buff up, bear in mind that your stance and your buffs will be removed. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a AoE buff removal, stance removal, and then his single target is weak point on this phase. Yeah, so here you go. So he's gonna do that. That's gonna be the debuff, the bleed, and the poison, and then he's gonna do the weak point. And you want to make sure that your Elat has the lowest HP, so that she's the one getting targeted off the damage, pretty much right there, right? So yeah, he's doing triple weak point right here, and so I'm like, okay, I attack with Mael, I do the single target right there. I do the cleanse with Elat. Remember, Elat's rank 1 is a cleanse, so I am able to actually waste that, and then we move that. So one thing I want to preface as well, guys, is that we are trying to build up a rank 3 Pierce card by the last phase of the fight. As you guys can see, I've yet to use my Freyja Pierce card, and the reason why is because we need it for the final part to, like, pretty much shred the gauge. And that's like what the main, like, part of the fight is you want to be shredding the gauge with Freyja, right? So yeah, we're taking these single target hits. Obviously they're not doing a lot of damage, especially because we have the sunspot, and because it's, you know, it's weak point, and we have no like debuffs on us. So yeah, not gonna do a lot of damage, but we do get the Elizabeth ult off, and then we do the Freyja single target, and then we're just gonna pretty much just waste the rest of my cards there, and then we'll move into the next phase. So yeah, I do move cards with Mael, so I get the ultimate, as we will probably need a stance removal on the second phase. You don't like need one, but I did get one just to be safe. So yeah, moving into the second phase of Nidhoggr right here, guys, this is where Nidhoggr can become a little bit of a threat. So I think on floor 1 he has the he has extort, and then he has HP related down. So the way you go about you know, this part of the fight is you always have your Elat all up, pretty much, because if you have your Elat all up, you're not gonna really have to worry about the debuffs that this phase of Nidhoggr is actually applying on you, because on this phase he's doing the extort and the HP related down, as I mentioned, and yeah, it's like it's not gonna do any damage if you have debuff immunity, right? That's why Elat's so good. Another thing to note as well is that you guys saw when I did my Mael ultimate, you guys saw one of the damage reductions from Nidhoggr actually disappear. So as you can see, he starts off with 3, and every time you use a cancel stance card, he's actually gonna remove damage reduction, which, you know, is a very unique ability. And the only characters that really do that on this fight is Mael and Freyja with their single target, if you have her Holy Relic, right? So yeah, you're able to pretty much kind of go through here. I was kind of just wasting cards. I wanted to save the Freyja one for the next turn, because I think on the next turn he was applying the stance, right? And when he applies the stance, you always want to make sure you have a stance removal ready. And so far, as you guys can see, we have yet to top deck another Pierce card. Do we get one here? We do. Okay, so that's good. This AoE skill that he does right here is block effect as well. So again, you always want to have the debuff immunity up. This one is the extort, and then the other one is the HP related down. Right, but he can't extort you if you are debuff immune. That's why Elat's so good on this part of the fight, right? So yeah, his ultimate, I think on this phase, his ultimate is, it might be buff removal. It might actually be buff removal. I'm not too sure. If it's not buff removal, I think it's extort or ignite. I forget exactly what it is, but I know one of the phases is definitely buff removal. It might be floor 2, but it could be floor 1 too, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so right here we do get the kill, guys, because the Elat is going to finish him off. I think it is buff removal actually, because it was first floor and I went for the kill. But yeah, we get the kill right there onto Nidhoggr phase 2. Now we're on floor 3. And this is where I actually sped up the clip, because right here, this is the longest part of the fight if you do not have Pierce cards, right? Because you have to shred the gauge from 100% all the way to 0 before you can kill him. And you also, another part of the gimmick is that you cannot put him below 30% HP, right? So something to take into account. So right here, when I actually start the fight here, I have it on ×2, and I'm pretty much trying to stall till we get Pierce cards, right? I use the rank 2 Pierce card, and it's gonna like do a good amount of damage on the gauge. It does about, what is that, no, that's like 23% of the gauge. If you have a rank 3, it's like 50%, which is so good. So you always want to get you know, that much on the gauge right there. But yeah, I had to put it on ×2 because this part of the fight just takes way too long. Always have your Elat you know, ultimate up, by the way, because I think this phase he doesn't have buff removal or anything like that. He doesn't have D rank. I think he only has like detonate on this phase. Nothing crazy. This is not D rank. Yeah, he only has detonate, and then I think the rest of his skills are just like single target. It's probably like a debuff ability, but you know, you're not really supposed to know about it, because you're not doing anything that's gonna like get you the debuffs, because you're always gonna have Elat ultimate up, right? You're pretty much just always gonna cycle through Elat ultimate, and that's the way to go about it. But yeah, as you guys can see, 42% right there. His ultimate is also ignite. So again, Elat debuff immunity, keep it up. that's the whole point right there. But yeah, right there we do push the Elat ultimate, because I was gonna run out fairly soon on it. So you know, we cycle through the ultimate, and then we shred the gauge a little bit again. You know, we're getting like no Pierce cards as well. Well, actually more than we got throughout the entire fight, but you know, in general, you want to like have as many as you can, just to get through this phase, because this phase does take a while if you don't get Pierce cards, because the regular cards don't do enough, right? We do like, what is that, 3%, and then this rank 2 with Mael is going to do about 10%, which is okay. But right here, we were able to actually get the kill now, because he's at 17%, and so I pretty much just have to double Mael ultimate. But what I do before that is I make sure I get Elizabeth ultimate, right? Making sure we get Elizabeth ultimate so that we have the heal going into the next phase. So he's at 5%. Now all we have to do is just ult with Elizabeth, ult with Mael, ult with Freyja, and then it's done, because he's gonna have 0%, right? Because the ultimate's gonna do like, I think ultimates on this phase do 10%. So that's gonna be perfectly enough. I showed the Freyja stats right there, pretty good. We checked the Mael stats as well, pretty good. 50k defense, you love to see it. And then yeah, so right there we do the Elizabeth ultimate. And then we do the Mael ult, we do the Freyja ultimate, and then just waste like the rest of our cards right there, because he's gonna be at 0% anyway, guys, because the ultimate is 10%. So we use the Elizabeth ult first because we want the heal first. We drop the ultimate 252k, no sunspots needed, and then Freyja ultimate, boom, 280k, and that's gonna be the floor 1 of the fight. And that's already 9 minutes in the video. Yikes. We're gonna be here for a minute, guys. All right, moving into floor 2. Luckily I had this all edited correctly, so all I have to do is speak, which is good. But it's not too bad. So right here, first phase of this floor, the gimmick with this phase is that he has a buff, right? And the way it works is that you cannot remove the buff until your last attack, because he's gonna get like 1,000,000 damage reduction stacks. And so on this phase, you kind of want to save your attack cards. So like Freyja and Mael attack cards, you really want to save those over like the other cards pretty much. But you know, in terms of like the amount of cards you're holding on to, you want to kind of hold on to your attack skills. But because you have 2 DPS characters in Freyja and Mael, you have like a lot of options in terms of, you know, the DPS cards you can use. And that's going to be definitely a benefit for sure. So yeah, he also does apply corrosion, and then it's AoE weak point now, so not single target weak point, AoE. A lot more damage nowadays, or now because of this. But yeah, so you do take a lot. But it's okay. You're just gonna want to always do the heal card right there. You know, do the gauge reduction, and then you can do the you know, you can move cards right there, because we are getting the cleanse with the heal, so we didn't need it. Freyja definitely needs to attack a little bit more for what I'm noticing, because she is really low on HP. One thing also, guys, is there might be a bug with Freyja. I think Merly was telling me that Freyja actually might be bugged on this because of the way her like recovery rate works. I don't know what it is, but her healing is like not as good as the rest of the team, which I don't know why it works like that. But yeah, it still works out for us though, because we do get the cleanse right there, we do the AoE pierce, and then we do the follow-up you know, single target with Mael right there. And that's gonna make it so that we get pretty much full health, and then we can also do or get another stack of Freyja's passive right there, right? Boom. So we do 146k, and then Miles gonna follow up with a damage cap of 293k, or pretty close to damage cap. And then yeah, he auto applies corrosion, by the way. And I think another thing to take into account is when you have 3 corrosion debuffs or more, which you can only have 3. So you know, if you have 3, and you attack into his stance right here, when he puts up the stance, if you attack into the stance, you get gray debuff stun. So you don't want to actually attack into the stance unless you have a stance removal, which, as you guys saw, I have a Freyja stance removal with because their single target acts as a stance removal, and so I was able to just drop that, and then from there I can drop like Freyja ultimate, I can buff remove, and then I can elite ultimate. I think that's what I go for, but I don't know if I actually go for that. I go for AoE, Freyja ult, and then buff removal. And then I guess I was holding on to it. I would have actually did the play a little bit different though. I would have did a Freyja single target, Freyja ultimate, and then buff removal, and then I would have did the I think that would have been enough actually, because the abyss would have been, yeah, I would have just dropped elite ultimate there. But I guess I was trying to like hold on to it for another turn, which is not a bad idea. Yeah, so do I reset here? Oh no, yeah, no, the abyss kills. That's what yeah, exactly. That's why I let it rock. I was like, wait, I left the Nidhoggr live for a sec, but yeah, as you guys saw there, that's what I was saying though. Like, you buff remove him and he gets all these damage reduction stacks, so you have to kill him on the turn that you buff remove him. Very, very important. So definitely make sure to do that. And the one thing I did mess up there is I didn't use elite ultimate to save my health on the corrosion stacks. I could have used elite ultimate, and I would have had a lot more HP going into this phase, and that would have been a lot better for sure. Alright guys, so on this phase of Nidhoggr now, he is actually going to give you a infect debuff. I think it's infect, right? I think it's infect whenever he has a stance up, or no, not when he has a stance up, whenever you remove a stance, if I'm not mistaken. I forget if that's floor 2 or floor 3. We're gonna find out together actually. You know what I mean? We're gonna find out together actually. So, you know, we do the elite debuff immunity, so we can't get debuffed. This phase, by the way, he has, I think it's alt seal. So he has alt seal, and he also has what was the other one? Oh, he has 2 debuffs. He has alt seal and he has another debuff. I forget. But yeah, he has 2 debuffs, but as long as you have elite, you know, buff up, then you should be okay. So pretty much always have your elite buff up. That's the best way I can explain it. But yeah. So there we go. So oh yeah, he has defense related down. Yeah, that's what it is. He has defense related down, and then the like stab card he does is the gauge reduction and the alt seal. So that's good to know. But yeah, right here, guys, we know he's gonna be putting up the stance next turn, and so I'm like, okay, let's do the single target with Elizabeth, AoE with Freyja. I'm definitely contemplating holding on to the Mael ult or not. But remember, if we do stance remove, we're gonna get alt seal. We're gonna get sealed actually, on our healing. So I can't actually do, like, if I was to do Elizabeth ultimate, I have to do it before I do Mael ultimate, pretty much, right? So right here, I was like, okay, let's just go for the Mael ultimate. That's why I go for the Elizabeth ultimate first, because you guys will see that right after this hand right here, we do get infected. So we do the heal, we do the ultimate with Mael, and boom, we're gonna remove a damage reduction stack, but we all get recovery disabled. Yes. So yeah, so that is this phase. At least I remembered correctly. There we go. So there we are. Yeah, so now that's like the main problem with this fight is that you're getting you know, sealed on your infect. And then also another thing to take into account as well is that this is a 2-turn infect. Whereas if he has a stance up and you attack into the stance with like a non-stance, it's only a 1-turn infect. So that's how it works if you don't attack with a stance removal. So because I'm doing the Freyja AoE right there, I'm gonna get a 1-turn infect, which I only have 1 turn left. But I think I actually decided to go for the stance removal at the end of the day, because I think it was just a waste of me, you know, refreshing my infect buff. But I went for it regardless, and we had to get the gauge reduction. I didn't want Elat to take too much damage, so doing the single target with Freyja right there to break the stance, and then doing the gauge reduction with Elat was probably the safer bet than just taking like a brunt hit here. I think this phase actually is extort. On the ultimate, if I'm not mistaken. It could be extort or it could be buff removal. I forget. But it's one of the two. A very, very scary one regardless. So you pretty much do not want him to have his ultimate. You always want to have a gauge reduction with Elat available if possible. Right? So right here, we do top deck a fairly decent hand. You know what I mean? We have the Elat ultimate, Freyja ultimate. We have 2 mile AoEs, which we already had. The single target with Freyja is good for another stance removal. But remember, if we use it, it refreshes the stance removal on or the infect on us, right? So we definitely don't want to have that. Yeah, so right here, I'm like, okay, let's just, you know, waste my cards here. He's gonna put up a stance next turn, but we can heal next turn, right? Because the infect's gonna leave. We can heal, and then we can break the stance again, and then we'll get infected again, pretty much. So yeah, not too bad. But right here, we do the AoE. Good chunk of damage. Let's see what his ultimate is again. I think if it's not buff removal here, it's extort. Let's see. Yeah, so that's extort, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we do tank that. And then, yeah, so he puts up the stance again. I do have stance removal, remember, but we have to use the Elizabeth ultimate first, right? So we do the Elizabeth ultimate first so we don't get infected, right? Then we do the stance removal. Then we do the mile attack card. And then I think I just waste the Freyja ultimate. I think I just go for the kill, right? And we move into the next phase. I think that is the play I go for. But we'll see. Oh, I guess not. I went for the Pierce card. Okay. That works out. I guess I was holding on to the Freyja ultimate, which is not a bad idea, actually. Holding on to it is very good, because you're going to need a lot of damaging cards, as I mentioned earlier, guys. You need the damaging cards. So right here, I don't kill, but the following turn we do, right? So we do a really good chunk of damage right there. And we're already at, like, you know, he's pretty much dead. Like, what is he able to do now, right? So yeah, pretty much is the same thing. If you remove all his damage reduction stacks, by the way, on floor 2 at once, he will get a damage dealt buff. So do not remove all of them, just remove one at a time, and try not to remove as like too many of them, because you know, and especially if you know you can't, like you're super low on HP and you need a heal, like don't do that, pretty much, right? So right here, I was like, okay, we're gonna get the kill. So let's just waste all my dead cards. I have a lot of really good single target cards. I have Mile ultimate, Freyja ultimate. Like, this is really good because you guys are gonna need a lot of damage on this final phase of Nidhoggr right here. And the reason why is because the way you shred his gauge. So as you guys can see, he's at 100 right now. The way you shred his gauge is that every time you put him less than 50%, he loses 33% of his gauge. So you have to, every turn, you have to pretty much do 50% of his HP, or make sure that he's less than 50% every single turn. If you have Freyja ultimate, and especially if it's a higher duped one as well, it's gonna be a lot easier to keep him below the 50% because the Abyss is gonna stop his start to turn healing, which is very good. And another thing to notice as well is that he will also get a buff that pretty much gives him the damage reduction every single turn. And so having an Elizabeth buff removal every few turns is going to be very beneficial as well. But big damage right there, 321k. Boom, we put him less than 50. He gets another damage reduction stack. He gets another HP stack as well. On this phase of the fight, he does have buff removal single target. It's not going to be AoE, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that. And so it's not like you really need to cycle through like Elat ultimates. You can though, you can still do it. Just because it's going to give you the, you know, if he doesn't go for the buff remove, it's going to give you the defense related. But yeah, and then I think on this phase, he does have D rank, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, be a little bit wary of that. And right here, I was like, okay, you know, he's at around like 40% HP with 2 damage reduction stacks. So we do the gauge reduction, and then we go for the, I think, yeah, we go for the AoE. So not too bad. But like the following turn, we're gonna go for like another really big damaging skill, because my Freyja ultimate's gonna run out a little bit soon here. And oh, okay, so I reset there actually. I reset. Okay, so yeah, so that right there was a reset, guys, as you saw, because I went to the options, and then I just like closed my game, restarted, and I edited it out. So you guys saw it right there. So I guess I went for a different play. I guess I was like, okay, let me push the Elizabeth ultimate, I guess, but it's probably a safer play. Which makes sense because he's already less than 50 and I didn't need to do all these attack cards. I guess that makes a lot of sense, actually. That's not a bad play. Yeah, and I wanted a little bit more of a heal right there. So we top deck all the ultimates. We do get corrosion. Yeah, so having the Elat ultimate up is not bad because you do get corrosion, 3 corrosion debuffs every single turn. But he is going to be buffed for moving you every turn, so that is something to bear in mind, right? So right here, single target. We take a pretty good chunk of damage, but because we have the Elat ultimate, we can do that. I think on this phase, the Nidhoggr ultimate is Ignite. So it's not going to do anything to you, pretty much. You're safe. So that's good. But right here, I was like, okay, I don't really need to, you know, use Elizabeth ultimate here because I'm already in a really good range for damage. And we do 292k right there. We have gauge reduction, so he can't ult me. And then, yeah, we do a pretty good chunk of damage here with Mile AoE. And then the following turn, we just have to get the kill. So right here, I can get the kill and get the heal so that we move into the final floor with pretty much full HP, right? So there we go, we take the AoE, and he does one more AoE. That's D rank, so right there, that's gonna be the D rank one, so Freyja does get D ranked. And then, yeah, right here we do the heal with Elizabeth, we do the single target with Freyja, and then we do the double single target with Mael, and it is barely a kill. I do remember it is barely a kill, so W floor 2, and then we're going to be moving into the floor 3 run, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how the floor 3 one went as well. So let's just have Mael finish him off. And bop, just like that. So yeah, having the attack crit damage Mile, big difference than running like a HP defense one, guys. So it's definitely important that you have that. And yeah, let's move into the floor 3. Alright guys, so moving into floor 3, as I specified earlier in the video, this is a completely different run here. So I do actually have a different setup. Not that it really changed much. The only thing I got was I got the headpiece for Mael and I got 5 of the 6 Mael. So that's the only difference. That's why I'm at 324 KCC. Versus at the beginning I was 322. So yeah, let me just go back here. Yep, so this is the start of floor 3. As you guys can see, the rest of the video is 21 minutes long. That's floor 3. It's a lot, man, it's a lot. So pretty much this first phase here, while it's on ×2, I'm gonna explain what you need to have, right? So pretty much this entire phase, you're gonna be stalling and you're gonna be trying to push your ultimates on your Elizabeth so that every other character on your team gets a heal and also fills their gauge as quickly as possible. You want to be attacking with your Freyja as well because, you know, when you're going through this part of the fight, you do get the all stats increase, and that's going to definitely benefit your team in terms of tanking. Obviously getting the Elat ultimate a little bit in the future as well is going to be pretty helpful too. But pretty much we're stalling for a rank 3 Pierce card, and the reason why we need a rank 3 Pierce card is because the gauge shred right here, you need it for gauge shred pretty much. Because he has the gauge on actually all 3 phases of the fight. He has the gauge. So this phase of the fight, he has the gauge, and pretty much it's always just gonna increase. I reset my the part of the fight right there. But yeah, another gimmick as well. Because this is going at ×2, so I'm trying to like keep up with the video. But I'll explain the gauge effect and why I actually reset there. So the reason why I reset there is that the third turn of your battle, the third turn from the start of the battle, you have to use a skill. The first skill you use will get sealed, right? And then every other skill you use after will be okay. But that works every 2 turns from the third turn from the start of the battle, okay? So on this third turn right here, I had to reset to use the heal card first so that recovery cards got disabled. So recovery disabled meaning I cannot use a heal skill, right? Because I started with the heal the skill ability. And so you have to do that every 2 turns to cycle through, while farming for rank 3 Pierce cards. And then another thing as well is that when he puts up a stance, you actually do get infected. So pretty much you have to drop the Mile ultimate or a single target with Freyja to remove the stance so that you can heal again. So you have to, it's kind of the opposite of floor 2, where on floor 2 when you use the stance removal, you got a infect, right? But yeah. Right here, we're just farming cards, guys, waiting till we get the rank 3 Pierce card. I might just let you guys like watch this part of the fight because there isn't really much to say other than that you just gotta kind of stall, you know what I mean? Right here, the best thing you can do is just always make sure that you're using a heal card, a buff card, or a debuff attack card with Mael on the part where you need to waste a skill, so that card gets sealed, right? And then that's pretty much the way you go about the fight. And then from here on out, I'm pretty much just stalling till I get the rank 3 Pierce. So I'll let you guys enjoy this part of the video, and then I'll come back when we're at the part where we go into phase 2. Alright guys, so we're back still on the phase 1, but we do actually have the rank 3 Pierce card, and I'm going to be showing you guys how I actually got the kill right here. So as you guys can see, right here we do have the ultimate with Freyja, we have the AoE Pierce, rank 3, we have a rank 1 Pierce, and then we also have a rank 2 mile skill right here. So pretty much what I do on this part of the fight is I actually waste the AoE Pierce now, and the Pierce on the gauge, it actually shreds 60% of the gauge. Right, so we do that. Freyja's ultimate is going to shred 20%. The Pierce card, I think, does 15% or 10% or something like that on the rank 1. Right, but as you guys can see, 60%. We do the ultimate, that's 20%. Remember, it's Abyss as well, right? So it's going to do the damage after the fact. So we do, okay, so that's 10%, and then this is 10% as well as it's a rank 2, right? Yeah, 10%, boom. And then the Abyss kills, and we move into the second phase of floor 3 Nidhoggr. So now on floor 3 Nidhogg's second phase, this is where you're gonna have to do a ton of different things. Turn 1, you need to have, if you don't have a stance removal turn 1, which I didn't have one here, you pretty much have to get one as quickly as possible so that you do not take a lot of damage. When he has this damage dealt buff, you take so much damage. Something to definitely think about. Okay, so right here I was like, okay, I have to get my ultimate, because if I don't have my ultimate next turn, I'm gonna get pretty much screwed here. And how it works is that every time you have a stance removal on this phase, he gets a buff that benefits you. So you actually do get benefit for actually removing his stance. And you guys will see it's part of the gauge effect on this part of the fight. So pretty much every time you remove his stance, his gauge is going to fill up, but he's going to give you a buff that helps you remove his gauge, right? So as an example, you can get like when you use buff skills, it removes some of his gauge pretty much, like that's one of them. Yeah, right there, he triple attacked into my Elizabeth, no Charmio Link, I almost died. If he crit me there, I probably would have lost. But yeah, so right here, we use the Mile ultimate. I'm like, okay, I probably want an Elizabeth ultimate too, and we do also have a stance removal. If I can speak, we do also have a stance removal with Freyja right there, single target. So that's good, because he's gonna be using a stance up next turn, and we definitely want that. Obviously, also 5 out of 6 Mile definitely helps for the damage reduction because you do have the 2 gray debuff sunspots. It's not needed, but it definitely does help, I will say. So, you know, higher dupe mile can be, like, he can have an effect. But right here, we do the Elizabeth ultimate, we do the single target with Freyja there to remove the stance, we do the gauge reduction, I think, as well. And then I think, yeah, I think we're okay. I think that's the play. Yeah. So, waiting for Amazing, like, past Amazing to do a skill here. Hello? Am I gonna use the skill? Might have to skip through. Okay, yeah, so I use the heal, use the single target gauge reduction, and buff card, yeah. Makes sense. So yeah, gauge, stance removal. So now, whenever we use a healing card, it's actually gonna lower his gauge, right? So as you guys can see, every time you remove his gauge, it's gonna increase, right? And then every time you use a skill, it lowers it by like 2 to 3. But depending on the skill you use, like if you use like a buff skill and you have the buff debuff, then that's really good. But you guys will see. So right here, I use the Elat ultimate. And I'm like, okay, let's push in Elizabeth ultimate too. We have a stance removal with Freyja right there, so I'm not too worried that he's putting up another stance. His ultimate here, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Extort. Yeah, on this phase is definitely Extort, from what I remember. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about. You don't want to really like take an Extort ultimate from this guy, because if he follows up attacks, you're dead. If he's not follow up attacking and he does the Extort ultimate, you could probably tank for it. But you know, having the what's it called? Having the like attack follow-up is very, very scary, especially if you do not have an Elat ultimate up. So definitely something to worry about. Also, as you guys can see, we are getting darkness stacks for every time my character does not attack. So every time my character does not attack, we get the darkness stacks. Very, very bad. He does have buff removal on the single target too, so something to take into account right there. But it's not going to be something that's really going to affect you unless he does buff removal first and then ult somehow. But I don't think he's going to be doing that, because then you'd have to follow up with another attack, which he's not going to do. So you're pretty much safe. But yeah, right there, I'm like, okay, we get my ultimate. We also do remove the stance right there as well. Let's see what buff we get here. So we do get the buff one now. So every time we use a buff skill, we're actually going to lower his gauge a little bit more as well. But as you guys can see, his gauge is still at like 20%-ish, give or take. And so we're going to be at the point almost where we're able to actually remove the gauge, which is coming very soon, right? So now he's attacking into Freyja, attacking into Elat, kind of trading blows here. We don't really want to, Freyja to be targeted. Mainly we want Elat to be targeted, which is good. So I'm glad he continues to target her. Right here, we know he has a stance next turn. I can also use a stance removal this turn because we have a Freyja card. But I wanted to get the Elizabeth Ultimate to be safe, so we have a heal, and then also, having the buff card right there, just to get some extra solidify stacks. And then we follow up with the AoE Pierce right there. So as you guys can see, when I use this buff skill, watch the gauge go down, because he has that buff, right? It goes down by 6%. Whereas when you use a regular skill, it's only going to shred the gauge by 2% or 3%. Right, and my Mael has like 3 darkness right now, very scary, but we shouldn't really have to worry about it. That card right there is covert action, the other one is the buff removal, so just something to take into account. He has the stance up, we have stance removal, we do not have gauge reduction, but we do have another Elat ultimate, which is good. Having the Elat ultimate at this point in the fight, very, very strong. So we're going to do the ultimate with Mael right there, we're going to do the gauge reduction, and the Elat ultimate. Right, I think that's the play, or do I don't even, I might not even go for it, yeah. Oh no, I do go for the gauge reduction. Okay, that is the safe play. Good job, amazing. There we go. Now, I don't know exactly which one that is. I don't know which one that is. That one might be stance. That one might be stance. No, that one might be stance. This one's buff. This one is heal cards, and then this one is maybe debuff attack skills. I'm not too sure, but pretty much every time you get it, you remove a stance, where you remove a damage reduction, you get a new buff that benefits you to shred his gauge faster, pretty much. So it's not actually like that bad. Right here, I thought I was gonna get the kill right here on his gauge, but it wasn't enough. It was not enough. The ultimate did 182k, 6%. My rank 2 does not do as much as you'd think. You'd think it'd do more, but it only did, what was it? Yeah, 1%. So I don't know why the rank 2 only did 1% right there. It should have did like 2. But yeah, even the rank 1 did 2% there, so I don't know. He is at 1%, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit unfortunate. I reset, and I think I, regardless, was just like, okay, I'll just have to do that turn, because I didn't think it really mattered. So let's kind of skip past this turn here. Yeah, so I let the turn rock, and it still wasn't enough, so I was like, okay, there's nothing I can do anyway. So we just let the turn rock. And then the following turn, we just get the kill easy. We just use the heal card with Elizabeth, and then we're good, right? Because that's going to remove the gauge, and then we just get the kill. So I was just like, okay, boom, I can get my ultimate. We could just waste the heal card. We waste the gauge reduction card. So we get the Elat ultimate as well. And then we just waste the Pierce card. Nice. So this works out. Now we can actually move into the final phase and talk about Nidhoggr final floor. Final floor, final phase. This is one of the not most difficult parts of the fight. This might actually be one of the easier parts of the fight now. So you guys have kind of gone through the first phase of Nidhoggr Floor 3, the second phase, and now you're on this phase of the fight. So pretty much the way this phase of the fight works is that he's going to have these buffs right here, these 5 buffs. And every time you put him less or below 90% HP max, he's going to be having, what's it called? He's going to remove one of them, and then when he removes all of them, he gets a 30% all stats increase. And every time you put him less than 90% HP, he's going to actually shred his gauge until he gets to 0 when you can actually kill him. So right here, I probably should have sped up this part of the fight too, but it wasn't as long as, the earlier parts of the fight. As you guys can see, we're almost, kind of wrapping up the video here, another like 6 minutes left. So not too bad. But yeah, so we do get the Elat ultimate up. We do the Mile ultimate. You do not need a high dupe Mile, by the way. As you guys saw from the earlier phases of Nidhoggr, it wasn't like that needed, but I do think for floor 3, if you're attempting floor 3, a higher dupe Mile does help your team like substantially, because you get the damage reduction for every sunspot on Nidhoggr, and that's going to help you tank a lot better when he does like an ultimate or whatever. And just having that is really, really strong, right? So we're going to do the Freyja ultimate next. Freyja ultimate is very good for this as well, because the abyss effect, especially if you have her high duped, will shred it at the very least 10% if you're doing a lot, right? So boom, we do like 1,000,000 damage, so now my abyss is like 500k abyss, which is enough to do at the very least the 10%, so that he's at around like 90% or less, right? So yeah, we check the gauge again, it goes to 57, and then so yeah, that's pretty much how it works. It just every single turn it's going to be doing that. That is right there, that card, D rank. And then he also has right there, which is just, I think that's just a debuff attack card. Yeah, this is nothing crazy. So yeah, so he's just gonna do his attacks. We're gonna, you know, shred his gauge again. It's already less than 90, so you technically don't have to do damage this turn. But always just dish out your cards, guys. Always cycle through your cards. You always want to be kind of clearing through. And he's also, oh, I forgot about this. This is very important. He is going to be stancing up on the third turn, every third turn, I think, from the start of his turn. And pretty much what you need is you always need a stance removal. If you do not have one, you're screwed, because if you don't remove the stance, he'll pretty much kill you. And then also, if you attack into the stance with a non-stance removal, then you take reflected damage. So you do not want to do that at all. Like, that is just not something you want to be doing. Alright, so right here, we do the Elizabeth ultimate. We do the single target with Mael. I do the single target with Freyja, and I'm like, okay, let's just waste the Elat buff card right there, because I'm not really gonna use that, right? Not really gonna have a use for it. So we do the single target with Mael. 336k, bro. That's a lot of damage, man. Freyja does 361k on the rank 1 too. Very big damage, very big damage. Alrighty, continuing with the fight here. So right here he does the ultimate. We have the Elat defense related. So we actually do tank that fairly well. And then we also still have the Abyss up. We have the stance up. He has the stance up now. So now you actually have to do the stance removal, which Freyja does that on a Relic, which is good. We do push the Elat ultimate because I only have 1 turn left on it. And then right here I was like, okay, let's just waste the Freyja AoE because we already have him less than the 90%, so I'm not too worried. And yeah, we're good. So we just waste the Elat buff card. We waste the Freyja AoE. We do get another Freyja ultimate as well. So now he only has 1 more of those skills. This D rank almost cucked me on my Elat, but luckily we didn't have an Elat card, so we actually saved. So we lose the Freyja ultimate there, but it was okay because we gained back you know, a merge there on Elizabeth, and it also meant that we top decked another card slot, which could definitely benefit us depending on the card. And in terms of the card, it wasn't really a benefit, I'm not gonna lie. But right here, he is on his last buff before he gets the all stats, which, you know, definitely will be a little bit scary once he gets the all stats, because doing damage when he has the all stats up, guys, very, very rough. You have to have like multiple ults up with like Mael and Freyja to actually kill him, and you need like really, really strong attack cards as well. But you guys will see, like, the damage difference is very noticeable the moment he gets that 30% all stats up, versus like right now where I'm doing all these cards and I put him to already at like 70% HP, right? So now he has the all stats up. So he's going to be dealing out a lot more damage now. He's going to be tanking better. He's going to be recovering off the started turn better. Everything that he's going to have is just going to be better, right? And then once you get the gauge to 0, though, he's not going to be started turn healing all the way to full. And you're going to actually be able to get the kill on him, which is good. Right? So you always want to have that available. So right here, I was like, okay, let's just waste the gauge reduction right there so we don't get ulted. Let's waste the single target right there with Elizabeth, and then the follow-up single target. We have the damage reduction stacks as well because of Mael's sunspots, which is very, you know, helpful. We do the gauge reduction. We do the double single target with Elizabeth. Right? And then right there, we have our ultimate, which is a safer play than actually, you know, going for the damage there, especially since he was going to heal it up anyway. D rank on Freyja, not the greatest. We do merge with Mael though, which, you know, was okay. But luckily we do have stance removal with Freyja herself, so I wasn't like too worried, which is good. And luckily Elizabeth wasn't able to get D ranked or anything like that, so we weren't really that scared. But right here we pushed the Mael ultimate. Right? Because I was like, okay, if we're going to be killing next turn, which if we do enough damage right here, Mael has to do enough right here, right? He had to do enough for the 10%, which luckily he hit the crits, and he actually did enough for 10%, and we put him less than the 90% that he needs to be, because we did the 10% damage, and yeah, it was good. So right here we have double ultimate, so we can reapply the sunspots, and we can have the Freyja ultimate as well to kind of stop the started turn healing. So I went for the double ultimate here, which is the play. And then I think right here I followed up with Mael single target and Freyja single target. So we do the ultimate, boom. No crit on Mael, unfortunately. Freyja ultimate though, boom, we do get the crit, 900k, very, very strong. We do the single target with Mael, and as you guys can see, 220k now. Before he was doing like 300k, right? We're not doing as much damage as we were doing, and he's just like tanking so much better as well. But yeah. Right here, guys, we pretty much beat the fight, though, because he does not have a lot of HP left. And with my Freyja cards that I do have enough damage to actually be able to kill the fight from this. So that's pretty good. But yeah, Freyja Ultimate, obviously having her higher dupe is going to help. Higher dupe Mile is going to help as well. This is still a whale activity, guys, and it's not going to be an activity that I would recommend you guys to go for at least floor 3. Like, floor 1 and floor 2 with Freyja Relic is good. But floor 3 is still, like, it's still just a very difficult fight. I will say, right? It is still a very difficult fight, but it is doable. So that is something to take into account. But boom, boom, and we do get the kill right there. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it though for the Nidhoggr, you know, floor 1 to floor 3 explanation here. I hope this was a helpful video. This was 40 minutes long, plus my commentary probably longer, honestly. Plus my commentary probably longer, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video regardless. That's going to be it, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace out, and have a great rest of your day.